During the Sims retrospective, I made brief mention of the seldom known SimCity card game and got to thinking, why no Sims card game? Could that even work? Not just trading cards, but like an actual Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone style game, but for the Sims. Can we take the ideas of the Sims franchise and translate them into a competitive card game? This channel, like a lot of channels, is basically on life support, so I'm making this video in an attempt to nudge the algorithm back to life. Maybe support your local YouTuber by buying a thing, like, comment, or subscribe. You know the drill. In this video, we're not going to fully build this thing. I'm already making more games than I should be. No, this is more of a Dael Kingsmill-esque thought experiment to stretch our designer brains. The logistics, are these physical cards or a microtransaction-laden app? None of that matters here. All we're doing is sitting down and challenging ourselves like a game design writing prompt. Turning The Sims from a wacky social life simulator into a Magic clone presents two major challenges. One of translation, of recreating the Sims experience into cards, and one of making a fundamentally non-competitive experience into one explicitly about that competition. The first thought to jump to mind was the game of life, you know, with the spinny wheel and the little cars. There's a lot of overlap there, the accrual of wealth, careers, spouses, even buying a house. But that game is competitive only in that it's a race. You're not struggling against one another, you're struggling against the track. And we could do that for The Sims, have cards generate wealth somehow with players racing to a certain total. But that feels, I don't know, not competitive enough. Sort of a card-based Euro game, worker placement thing where the players are largely playing in isolation. No, we want something head-to-head, a Simstone, a Sim the Simmering. Those games and all of their derivatives have two core mechanics fundamental to their design, and it isn't tapping or creature summoning. They all have some sort of health mechanic, a thing that can limit, alter, or affect the other player, and a resource, the mana equivalent. This gates the player, ensuring that you can't play all your best cards at once. You have to strategize, rather than rely on simple luck. And this, already right at the beginning, presents an opportunity for efficiency. What if we make these the same resource? What if your health is your mana? The efficiency of combining multiple purposes into singular mechanics is admittedly becoming a hallmark of mine as a designer, but I think it makes a lot of sense given our theme. The basic gameplay loop of The Sims is the building and maintaining of meters that allow a Sim to take further action. Sleeping in a bed restores energy, and you use that energy to go to work. You eat food, buying time to sit on the couch and watch TV, and so on. We can do that same thing with cards. Though that raises the question of meters. How big? How small? The modern Sims have 6 needs, each necessitating their own meter. Magic the Gathering uses a 20-point health system, with Hearthstone increasing that to 30. These are good numbers, small enough to keep play quick and permit a wider demographic of players, but large enough to allow for comebacks if one player gets an early lead. But we have 6 meters, and 20 for each is going to be way too much. We want the player to focus on strategizing, not bookkeeping. So we need to bring these numbers down. So instead of using D20 as a counter, what if we scaled it back to a D4 for each meter? Keeps the numbers small with a combined total of only 24, and we can always bump those up to D6s later without breaking too much. Once we have meters, the cards practically design themselves. We combine theme and mechanic, using cards to raise or lower a resource, while the theming makes them logical and intuitive. So the make dinner card costs an energy and restores some hunger. Or the popcorn in a movie card costs 2 energy, but gives me 1 hunger and 1 fun. Cards affecting other players work the same way. I play the annoy card, costing me 1 fun, but tanking the opponent's energy, that sort of thing. So what happens when a meter reaches 0? Having the player lose for the failure of 1 meter seems pretty harsh. Maybe a lockout state preventing a player from playing certain cards, forcing them to use only cards that raise a meter rather than cards that have a cost. That would mean we would need free options, something like bread and jam, which only raises hunger by 1, but has no cost. Already we have a lot of complexity here we could scale back. For example, is a lockout mechanic even needed? If cards have a cost, maybe the penalty for a lower meter is not being able to play stronger cards. Maybe we don't need 6 meters, maybe we could get away with 3. Say body for hunger and hygiene, fulfillment for social and fun, energy as a baseline resource for wider versatility like colorless and Magic the Gathering. Easier to track, but less like The Sims. Alright, let's pause there and start thinking about our second problem, our making it competitive. The end goal in Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone is murder, and in spite of our ladderless pools, that goal feels pretty un-Sims-like. We can loop back to our mansion on the hill idea, but then we'll need a second resource, something like money you accrue as victory points. And we need to be really careful there, because doubling the resource literally makes the game twice as complicated. Maybe we treat our wealth mechanic more like a meter, so it goes up and down. Maybe going to work costs energy but generates wealth, and wealth could be used for more powerful cards. So TV dinner costs 1 energy and generates 2 food, but pizza costs 1 simoleon and generates 3 food, while saving you the energy. Maybe cards cost energy, and at the end of a turn, any remaining energy is converted into money. 1 simoleon earned per energy, the goal for the player to get to 51st and buy the mansion on the hill. Any meter being at 0 forces a player to deal with the meter before they can earn more simoleons, maybe? And there's definitely room for equipment cards. Maybe you could play a fancy bed that helps you recover more energy to bring back in some of that Sims flavor. Could have these stack like token enhancements in Magic the Gathering. So you play a vacuum cleaner card that gives you +1 to all cleaning cards. Are these simoleons locked off the board, or can players use them to play cards too? Is that too random with players getting screwed over by their deck? And we're not really capturing the idea of social interaction or the building up of a house all that much. This is tricky, not the least of which because I'm trying to design this thing in an afternoon instead of over weeks and months. Alright, so the design is sort of spiraling away from us here, getting nebulous in the possibility space rather than working towards a concrete goal. So let's bring it back to a few core mechanics, really drill down on those, and start thinking about how this game works. We're going to need 2 players, each with a deck. They're going to draw cards, and playing those cards causes meters to increment or decrement depending on the card. We'll go with 6 meters, 1 for each need, with meters on a 4-point scale. Needs can be used to play cards, serving as both health and mana. At the end of a player's turn, they can go to work, which converts all unspent energy into simoleons. And the goal of the match is to be the first to get to $50 and buy the mansion. Our cards will have 3 types: actions, interactions, and stuff, stuff being with a capital S in place of a clunkier word like commodities or possessions. Actions affect the player. I use the bathroom card to boost my bladder by 3. I play the clean house card, costing me fun, but filling my hygiene, and so on. Interactions affect other players. I play annoy, costing me 1 energy, but lowering my opponent's fun meter by 2. I play straight animal, costing me 1 hygiene, but lowering my opponent by 4, triggering a lockout. Burgle lowers my opponent's fun to 0 and gives me simoleons, and so on. Stuff are equipment cards that boost other cards. So I spend a simoleon on a big TV, which gives any fun card I play +1. We pull our lockout mechanic back in, but modify it. If a meter is at 0, you can still play whatever cards you can afford, but can no longer take the go to work action, limiting your ability to earn cash and win the game. Keeps things simple and is easier to track and remember. And that's basically a functional game. Sure, you'd have to actually design and test all the cards, and that's no simple feat. But I think this meets both of our original goals of converting The Sims into cards and making it a competitive head-to-head game. There's the business case to consider. Is this one set you buy off the shelf at Target? Do you have expansions like in the game, adding pets and werewolves and whatnot? Lots of room for further discussion there. Working these kinds of challenges of taking a concept and converting it to a game is not only fun or gives you something to do while you're at the dentist, it helps us work our design muscles, keeping them fresh for when we get around to the next big project of our own. So tell me, how would you make a Sims card game? If you want to see more of this kind of thing, drop a comment. I could definitely see doing one of these for a Sims TTRPG if there's interest. This video was made in my continued attempts to poke the algorithm. While my Sims video has gotten pretty big, the rest of this channel is a ghost town, and I think that's largely because of how the algo operates. It shows the video to people who care about The Sims rather than game design or writing, so they don't stick around for the other videos. My hope is that this video pulls the algorithm more towards those game design folks so the back catalog can get some attention. I gotta do something. My books don't sell, they don't particularly review well, and my chances of getting another one out this year are dropping precipitously. If you want to support the channel, you can pick up games I've actually made over on Itch or Drive-Thru RPG, or grab a book over on Amazon. I swear they're better than the reviews make them out to be, but of course I would say that. I wrote the damn things. I'm Mike Laguero. As always, thanks for watching. For The Sims, can we take, this is going way too fast, the logistics, now I gotta speed this back up, into a magic clone, there was a period there and I treated it like a comma, transaction laden, any meaner bringing, rather than working towards a concrete bowl. Goal? A concrete bowl? Yes, a concrete bowl. That's exactly what I'm trying to work for. Great, good job, Mel. If you see, nope, completely that up. Definitely see, come on, we're at the end here, keep it together.